second, just double checking. Yep, we are live. Live from Rugaloka. It's the Hare Krishna show. All right, so give me 1 second. I think we are ready to roll. We got 14 people already. That is pretty nice. Okay, so we get the guitar, and then we'll be ready to go. Camera seems to be a little jumpy tonight. Or maybe that's the internet. Let me just see the internet. Seems to be slow. No, it seems to be reasonably fast today. Yeah, it's all right. Double checking. Okay, here we go. Jaya Randhamadava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Randhamadava Jaya Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Soda Nanda Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvadikacharya Sutena Satoshi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Parem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikapatna Shyam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturanam Ki Jai. Jagadath Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarani. So, Om Gana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're going to continue with our study of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. And, of course, this is by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who resided on the banks of the Shamakund and the Manasa Pavana Ghat. Hearing from Raghunath Das Goswami about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, specifically the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, now we're hearing about the earlier pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these were gleaned from other sources like the Diary of Murari Gupta and other sources in Navadvip. So, let's continue. And we're almost finished with the 17th chapter of the Adi Lila, which is the last chapter of the Adi Lila. And then we go to the Madhya Lila. So, let's go. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So, let's say, leading up to today's verse, we have a student of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastising Lord Chaitanya for chanting Gopi Gopi. And the student said, you should chant Krishna, Krishna. And he was not understanding Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood, so Lord Chaitanya gets angry. Ooh, and as a result of his getting angry and the students committing offenses, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually decides to take sannyas. That's the exoteric reason for Lord Chaitanya's sannyas. Exoteric means the apparent reason. So people will listen to him. That's a good reason for taking sannyas. Of course, I took sannyas, and basically very few people listen to me anyway. So they listen, but they don't hear. There's a difference. This is Kali Yuga. People listen. Have you heard what I say? Yes. Are you going to do it? No. So there's a difference between listening and hearing. So anyway, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas externally for the reason that people would listen to him and not commit offenses. Because in India there was the culture: if you are a sannyasi, you're not supposed to make offenses to sannyasi. You're supposed to listen to them and not criticize them. Okay. Then there's the esoteric reason why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, so he could manifest fully the mood of intense separation. That is, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani, experiencing separation from her beloved Krishna. Okay, so this is leading up to that point, at least, of the exoteric reason for Lord Chaitanya's sannyas. And here Lord Chaitanya is getting angry at the student. And you're going to hear what happens. Not only does he get angry, but there's some physical stuff going on here too. All right. Shuni Prabhu Krode Kaila Krishna Doshol Gara Tengalanu Tila Prabhu Paduya Marivara. Hearing the foolish student, the Lord became greatly angry and rebuked Lord Krishna in various ways. Taking up a stick, he rose to strike the student. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that when Uddhava came from Lord Krishna with a message for the gopis, all the gopis especially, Srimati Radharani denounced Krishna in various ways. Such denunciations, however, reflect an exuberant, loving attitude that an ordinary man cannot understand. When the foolish student questioned Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya similarly rebuked Lord Krishna in loving exuberance. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the mood of the gopis and the student advocated the cause of Sri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya was greatly angry. Seeing his anger, the foolish student, who was an ordinary, atheistic, smarta brahmana, that means attached to rules and regulations, but not knowing the purposes behind the rules and regulations, taking the rules and regulations as everything, and not knowing the difference between the absolute rules and regulations, the principles, and simply details that are time, place, and circumstance bound. So this student foolishly misjudged Lord Chaitanya. Thus, he and a party of the students were ready to strike the Lord in retaliation. After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to take sannyas so that people would not commit offenses against him. Considering him an ordinary householder, for in India, even now, a sannyasi is naturally offered respect. That's in India, not the West. Bhaya Pulaya Paduya Prabhu Pache Dhoya Aste Vyaste Bhattakana Prabhu Re Rahaya. The student ran away in fear, and the Lord followed him. But somehow or other, the devotees checked the Lord. Prabhu Re Shandakadi Anila Nijagari Paduya Pulaya Gela Paduya Sabhare. The devotees pacified the Lord and brought him home. And the student ran away to an assembly of other students. Paduya Sahasrayahan Pade Ekatani Prabhura Vritan Dvija Caitanyahi. The Brahmana student ran to a place where 1,000 students were studying together. There he described the incident to them. In this verse we find the word Dvija, indicating that the student was a Brahmana. Actually, in those days, only members of the Brahmin class became students of Vedic literature. Schooling is meant especially for Brahmanas. Previously, there was no question of schooling for Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras. Kshatriyas used to learn the technology of warfare, and Vaishyas learned business from their fathers or other businessmen. They were not meant to study the Vedas. At present, however, everyone goes to school and everyone is given the same type of education, although no one knows what the result will be. The result, however, is most unsatisfactory, as we have seen in Western countries especially. The United States has vast educational institutions where everyone is allowed to receive an education, but the result is that most students become like hippies. So this is actually very important. In America we have this thing that everyone has to get a college education if you're going to do anything. But really speaking, or realistically speaking, it's better that some people just get education in trades, depending upon their specific psychological nature or psychophysical nature. If someone is actually a Brahmin, very few, then higher education is fine. But if someone is a Kshatriya, they can get some education and then also how to administrate and also Niti Shastra and also some, financial stuff and everything like that. And philosophy for Kshatriyas, because Kshatriyas are also twice born. And then if someone's a Vaishya, you can also study, you're also twice born, you can study some philosophy. You don't have to get really that deep into it, because mostly you're inclined towards business and cow protection. Prabhupada was asked one time, should people be trained in business? And Prabhupada answered that, why do you have to train people to cheat? Because business means you buy something at a low price, sell it at a high price. Hare Krishna. Of course, we understand people should know accounting and all the other stuff like that. But, they don't have to get a university education to become a businessman. And so all these people have higher education and, what is it? If you put knowledge in the hands of a jerk, then he becomes more dangerous. Wow. Too much knowledge, or knowledge unnecessary, in the hands of someone who's not qualified to handle that knowledge, it becomes very, very, very dangerous. For example, there used to be, many years ago, and we're not going to mention who, a president of a particular country, and I'm not going to mention the name of the country, I'm in the country right now, but I'm not going to mention the name of the country, and he had control of the nuclear arsenal of this particular country. Simply by his word, he could blow everyone off the face of this earth. And we were all nervous when that was happening. However, that time has passed, thank God. Anyway, so Prabhupada also commented about people who are like Shudras becoming soldiers. In the 1960s, especially the 1960s and also early 70s, there was this thing called the draft in the United States, where they would take people, not exactly at random, but they had some technique for choosing who they would take. They would take the young people, 18 and over, 18 to about 25, and they would draft them into the army and then send them overseas to Vietnam. And some of them were so unqualified that they were smoking ganja while they were supposed to be fighting. I'm not going to talk about whether the fight was bona fide or not bona fide, but they were smoking ganja, and some of them were so crazy they ended up shooting each other and shooting their commanding officer, and it was a disaster. So if people are genuine Kshatriyas, who have that particular psychophysical nature, then they can be soldiers. Otherwise, what's the use of having a bunch of Shudras as soldiers? So in this way, in the Varnashram system, people would fit into their own category according to their psychophysical nature. Guna and karma. Guna means qualities, karma means work. Not birth. It's not a caste system. It's according to your propensities, abilities, and intelligence. That you would be doing something you like to do. That's all. It's as simple as that. It's not you're forced to do something. It's something you like to do. You can absorb your mind in for Krishna. Higher education is not meant for everyone. Only selected individuals trained in Brahminical culture should be allowed to pursue a higher education. Educational institutions should not aim to teach technology, for a technologist cannot properly be called educated. A technologist is a Shudra. Only one who studies the Vedas may properly be called a learned man, Pandit. That's also a little controversial. But what does Prabhupada mean? Well, technologist, that means someone who is engaged in computer programming and things like that and goes to work for someone else and programs computers according to how they've been ordered to do it. He's not an independent thinker. A Brahmin is an independent thinker. That's one of the qualities of a Brahmin. The duty of a Brahmin is to become learned in the Vedic literature and teach the Vedic knowledge to other Brahmanas. In our Krishna conscious movement, we are simply teaching our students to become fit Brahmins and Vaishnavas, although the majority didn't become Brahmins and Vaishnavas, or became Vaishnavas, but not Brahmins. In our school in Dallas, the students are learning English and Sanskrit, and through these two languages, they are studying all of our books, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and the Nectar of Devotion. It is a mistake to educate every student as a technologist. There must be a group of students who become Brahmins. Without Brahmins who study the Vedic literature, human society will be entirely chaotic. And of course, nowadays they have this thing called coding camp. Everybody learns to code. Actually, it's a good idea to learn to code because it teaches you logic. The interesting thing about computer programming, at least the languages that I studied when I was in the university, it actually teaches you logic. It teaches you how to think clearly. Even if you're not going to work in computer programming, it's actually a good skill to have, because then you'll be able to deal with different arguments, think logically, make practical decisions in your life. So I advocate that just about everybody learns a little bit of basic computer programming and some high-level programming, not low-level, not machine language, obviously, but like C, C++. Of course, like I studied Fortran and COBOL and stuff like that. That's a little bit different, but it's basically the same. It's the same type of logical construction. Hearing of the incident, all the students became greatly angry and joined together in criticizing the Lord. Sabadeshe vrashta koila ekaladi bari brahmana marite chai. Dharma boy nai. Nimai Pandit alone has spoiled the entire country, they accused. He wants to strike a caste Brahmin. He has no fear of religious principles. In those days, also, the caste Brahmanas were very proud. They were not prepared to accept chastisement, even from a teacher or spiritual master. Haven't we experienced that? Puna yadiyache kare maribe tahare konva manusya hoya ki karite pare. If he again performs such an atrocious act, certainly we shall retaliate and strike him in turn. What kind of important person is he that he can check us in this way? Prabhura nindaya sabara bhuri hoila nasa supati tavidya karo nahaya prakasha. When all the students thus resolved, criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their intelligence was spoiled. Thus, although they were learned scholars, because of this offense, the essence of knowledge was not manifested in them. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Mayaya parita jnana asuram bhavam ashtaha. When one becomes inimical to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, adopting an atheistic attitude, asuram bhavam. Even if one is a learned scholar, the essence of knowledge does not become manifested in him. In other words, the essence of his knowledge is stolen by the illusory energy of the Lord. In this connection, Srila Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes a mantra from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23. Very important verse, which Prabhupada would quote very often. Yasya deve paravaktir yatha deve tatagara tashaite katitayarta prakashante mahatmanaha. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23 again. The purport of this verse is that one who is unfit unflinchingly devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and similarly devoted to the spiritual master with no ulterior motive, no mixed motive, becomes a master of all knowledge. In the heart of such a devotee, the real essence of Vedic knowledge becomes manifested. This essence is nothing but surrender into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aham eva vedyaha. That's from the Gita, of course, 15:15. Only unto one who fully surrenders to the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord does the essence of Vedic knowledge become manifested, not to anyone else. The same principle is emphasized by Sri Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 7th canto, 5th chapter, text 24. Iti pumshar pita Vishnau bhaktis chen avalakshana kriyate bhagavatjada tanmanyeti tam uttamam. A person who directly applies these 9 principles, these are the 9 aspects of devotional service, Nava Bhakti, hearing, chanting, remembering, etc., in the service of the Lord, is to be understood as a greatly learned man who has assimilated the Vedic literatures very well. For the goal of studying the Vedic literature is to understand the supremacy of Lord Sri Krishna. Siddhara Sanghi confirms in his commentary that first one must surrender to the spiritual master, then the process of devotional service will develop. It is not a fact that only one who diligently pursues an academic career can become a devotee. Even with no academic career, if one has full faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of God, that he develops in spiritual life and real knowledge of the Vedas. The example of Maharaj Kotwanga confirms this. One who surrenders is understood to have learned the subject matter of the Vedas very nicely. One who adopts this Vedic process of surrender learns devotional service and is certainly successful. One who is very proud, however, is unable to surrender either to the spiritual master or to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he cannot understand the essence of any Vedic literature. Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, 11th chapter, 18 declares, Shabda Brahmani Nishnato Nanishnayat Parayade Shamastasya Shamapalhu Yadenu Miva Rakshataha. If one is learned in the Vedic literature but is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu, his work is a useless labor of love. Useless waste of love, sorry. Just like the keeping of a cow does not give milk. Anyone who does not follow the surrendering process but is simply interested in an academic career cannot make any advancement. His profit is only his labor for nothing. If one is expert in the study of the Vedas but does not surrender to a spiritual master or a Vishnu, all his cultivation of knowledge is but a waste of time and labor. Shrama eva hi kevalam. Okay. Tatapi dambika padya namra nahi hoya yahantahan prabhura nindahasi se kariya. But the proud student community did not become submissive. On the contrary, the students spoke of the incident anywhere and everywhere in a laughing manner. They criticized the Lord. Sarvajna Goshani Jani Sabara Durgati Gauri Vasi Chinteta Sabara Vyahati. Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, being omniscient, could understand the degradation of these students. Thus he sat at home contemplating how to rescue them. Yata Adhyapaka Aratanra Shishagana Dharmi Karani Tapanishta Nindaka Durjana. All the so-called professors and scientists and their students generally follow the regular principles of religion, fruit of activities and austerities, the Lord thought, yet at the same time they are blasphemers and rogues. Here's a depiction of materialists who have no knowledge of devotional service. They may be very religious and may work very systematically or perform austerities and penances, but if they blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are nothing but rogues. This is confirmed in the Hari Bhakti Shuddhodaya, 3:11. Bhagavad Bhakti Nasya Jati Shastram Japastapaha Apranasyayavati Hasya Mandanhang Lokaranjanam. If they are without knowledge of devotional service to the Lord, then great nationalism, fruitive, political or social work, science or philosophy are all simply like costly garments decorating a dead body. The only offense of persons adhering to these principles is they are not devotees. They are always blasphemous toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His devotees. Phew. Esava mora ninda aparada haite aminala yaile waktina parela hite. If I do not induce them to take to devotional service because of committing the offense of blasphemy, none of these people will be able to take to it. Nisthadite ailamahami vaila viparita esabadra janera kaicheha ibeka hita. I have come to deliver all the fallen souls, but now just the opposite has happened. How can these rogues be delivered? How may they be benefited? Amake pranatikare haya papakshaya tabe se hare bhakti layai leilaya. If these rogues offer me obeisances, the reactions of their sinful activities will be nullified. Then, if I induce them, they will take to devotional service. More ninna karaye nakare namaskara esavaji vera havasya kariba utara. I must certainly deliver all these fallen souls who blaspheme me and do not offer me obeisances. Ataiva avasyahami sannyasa kariba sannyasi buddhye more pranata ahiba. I shall accept the sannyas order of life, or thus people will offer me their obeisances, thinking of me as a member of the renounced order. And Prabhupada explains that among the members of the Varnashram institution's social orders, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, the Brahman is considered the foremost, for he is the teacher and spiritual master of all the other Varnas. Similarly, among the spiritual orders, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, the sannyas order is the most elevated. Therefore, a sannyasi is the spiritual master of all varnas and ashramas. Any Brahmin is also expected to offer obeisances to a sannyasi. Unfortunately, however, caste Brahmanas do not offer obeisances to a Vaishnava sannyasi. They are so proud they do not offer obeisances even to Indian sannyasis, what to speak of European and American sannyasis. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, however, expected that even the caste brahmanas would offer respectful obeisances to a sannyasi because 500 years ago the social custom was to offer obeisances immediately to any sannyasi, known or unknown. The sannyasis of the Krishna consciousness movement are bona fide. All the students of the Krishna consciousness movement have undergone the regular process of initiation, as enjoined in the Huri Bhakti Vilasa by Sanatana Goswami, Tatatiksha Vidhanena Dvithatvam Jayate Nrinam. By the regular process of initiation, any man can become a Brahmana. Thus, in the beginning, the students of our Krishna conscious movement agreed to live with the devotees, and gradually, having given up 4 prohibited activities, illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication, they become advanced in the activities of spiritual life. When one is found to be regularly following these principles, he is given the first initiation, Hurinama, and he regularly chants at least 16 rounds a day. Then, after 6 months or a year, he is initiated for the second time and given the sacred thread with the regular sacrifice and rituals. After some time, when he advances still further and is willing to give up this material world, he is given the sannyas order. At that time, he receives the title Swami or Goswami, both of which mean master of the senses. Unfortunately, debauched so-called Brahmanas in India neither offer them respect nor accept them as bona fide sannyasis. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu expected the so-called Brahmanas to offer respect to such Vaishnava sannyasis. Nevertheless, it does not matter whether they offer respect nor whether they accept these sannyasis as bona fide, for the Shastra describes punishment for such disobedient so-called Brahmanas. The Shastra conjunction declares, phew, Devata pratimam drishva yatim chaiva tridandinam namaskaram nakuryadya prayaschiti yate naraha. One who does not offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to his deity in the temple, or to a Tridandi sannyasi must undergo prayaschita, atonement. If one does not offer obeisances to such a sannyasi, the prescribed prayaschita is to fast for 1 day. Ooh, that's a good impetus for people who offer obeisances. I should go around with that note telling people you should offer obeisances. Actually, Prabhupada said that it's not that one has to offer obeisances each time they see the sannyasi. Prabhupada said in the morning and the evening is sufficient, except in the case of the spiritual master. Whenever one comes in contact with the spiritual master, one should offer obeisances, dandavats. Okay. Pranatite habe hara aparadaksheha nirmala hridiye bhakti karai bahudaya. Offering obeisances will relieve them of all the reactions to their offenses. Then by my grace, devotional service, bhakti will awaken in their pure hearts. According to the Vedic injunctions, only a Brahmana may be offered sannyasa. The Shankara Sampradaya, Ekodanda Sannyasa Sampradaya, awards the sannyasa order only to caste Brahmanas or born Brahmanas, but in the Vaishnava system, even one not born in a Brahmin family may be made a Brahman according to the direction of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Tatha diksha vidanena dvishatvam jayate nrinam. By the process of diksha, any person from any part of the world may be made a Brahmana by the regular process of initiation. And when he follows Brahminical behavior, observing the principle of abstaining from intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, and gambling, he may be offered sannyasa. All the sannyasis in the Krishna conscious movement who are preaching all over the world are regular Brahmin sannyasis. Thus, the so-called caste Brahmanas should not object to offering them respectful obeisances. By offering such obeisances, as recommended by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they will diminish their offenses and automatically awaken to their natural position of devotional service. As it is said, Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabu Nai. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrta, 22nd chapter in the Madhya Lila, text 107. Krishna Prema can be awakened in a purified heart. In other words, one already has Krishna Prema, just needs to be awakened. That's what this verse says. The more we offer obeisances to sannyasis, especially Vaishnava sannyasis, the more we diminish our offenses and purify our hearts. Only in a purified heart can Krishna Prema awaken. This is the process of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's cult, the Krishna consciousness movement. Very good information. Esabab Pushandirathabe haibe nistara arakono payanahi ayukti sara. All the unfaithful rogues of this world can be delivered by this process. There is no alternative. This is the essence of the argument. Adrida yuktikari Prabhu ache gare Keshava Bharati Lila Nadia Nagare. After coming to this firm conclusion, the Lord continued to stay at home. In the meantime, Keshava Bharati came to the town of Nadia. Prabhu Tanre Namaskare Kaila Nimantrana Viksha Karaya Tanre Kaila Nivedana. The Lord offered him respectful obeisances and invited him to his house. After feeding him sumptuously, he submitted to him his petition. According to the system of Vedic society, whenever an unknown sannyasi comes to a village or town, someone must invite him to take prasadam in his home. Sannyasis generally take prasadam in the house of a brahmana because the brahmana worships the Lord Narayan Shila or Shalagram Shila, and therefore there is prasadam that the sannyasi may take. Keshava Bharati accepted the invitation of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus the Lord had a good opportunity to explain his desire to take sannyas from him. Poor Mother Sachimata. Poor Vishnupriya. Tumi ta Ishwaravata Sakshat Narayana Kripakari Karamora Sangsaramochana. Sir, you are directly Narayan, therefore please be merciful unto me. Deliver me from this material bondage. Now, he was addressing him in this way because Keshava Bharati was a member of a Mayavadi sannyas sampradaya. Bharati kahena tumi ishvara antaryami ye karaha se kariba swatantra nahiyami. Keshava Bharati replied to the Lord, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul. I must do whatever you cause me to do. I am not independent of you." Etapali Bharati Goshani Katoyate Getla Mahaprabhu Tata Yae Sannyasa Karila. After saying this, Keshava Bharati, the spiritual master, went back to his village Katwa. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there and accepted the renounced order of sannyas. So sad. That is really sad. At the end of his 24th year, at the end of the fortnight of the waxing moon, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Navadvip and crossed the river Ganges at a place known as Nidayaragata. Then he reached Kantaka Nagara or Katwa, where he accepted Ekadanda sannyas according to the Shankarite system. Since Keshava Bharati belonged to the Shankarite sect, he could not initiate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Vaishnava sannyas order, whose members carry the Tridanda. Chandrasekharacharya assisted in the routine ceremony work of the Lord's acceptance of sannyas. By the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, kirtan was performed for the entire day. At the end of the day, the Lord shaved off his hair. On the next day, he became a regular sannyasi with one rod, Ekadanda. From that day on, his name was Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Before that, he was known as Nimai Pandit. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the sannyas order traveled all over Radhadesh, the region where the Ganges River cannot be seen. Keshava Bharati accompanied him for some distance. Now, let me give a little bit of an explanation of this. Okay. So you may say, why did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take initiation in the Mayavadi sannyas sampradaya instead of Vaishnava sannyas sampradaya? Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, because that was respected more. Secondly, he didn't actually take Ekadanda sannyas. That was an illusion. Why do I say that? Because when it came time for Keshava Bharati to give Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the sannyas mantra, guess what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did? He said to Keshava Bharati, Goswami, I had a dream last night, and in that dream, I heard this sannyas mantra. And you were giving me the sannyas mantra. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, can I tell you the sannyas mantra? And Keshava Bharati said, yeah, sure. So then Lord Chaitanya spoke this sannyas mantra into the ear of Keshava Bharati. Keshava Bharati heard it, and at that point he became initiated as a Vaishnava sannyasi. And so then he repeated that mantra for Lord Chaitanya, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had previously given him. So in other words, Lord Chaitanya gave Vaishnava sannyas to his sannyas guru before his sannyas guru gave him Vaishnava sannyas. There was apparently Ekadanda or Mayavadi sannyasi. So a Mayavadi carries one stick. It's called Ekadanda because everything is one. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his one stick actually had three sticks. Because, I mean, how do you know that? Because later on that one stick was broken in three pieces by Lord Nityananda, which we'll read about in the Caitanya Caritamrta. So it was a trick for preaching Krishna consciousness. Okay. So let's read more about Lord Chaitanya's sannyas. And it's so sad that Lord Chaitanya left his home never to come back again. His wife never saw him again. And Vishnu Priya was left there at 16 years of age as a widow. It's really sad. Of course, she was worshiping him in a mood of separation, never really disconnected from him. Sachi Mata was also worshiping him. She actually saw him again, at least 2 more times. But Vishnu Priya never saw her husband again, and she made a deity of her husband, and she would chant the holy name continually all day and night, and for every Hare Krishna mantra she would take aside a grain of rice, and that would be all she would eat. So for the rest of her stay in this mortal world, she worshipped Lord Chaitanya in the mood of separation, crying continually like the gopis cried, and the gopis were also of a similar age, and Krishna was also, well, he was 16, but Lord Chaitanya, of course, was 24. Very sad, but internally something else is going on. So don't judge things from the external viewpoint. So, Sange Nityananda Chandrasekhara Acharya Mukunda Datta Hetina Kaila Sarva Karya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas, 3 personalities were with him to perform all the necessary activities. They were Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhara Acharya, and Mukunda Datta. E Adi Lila Kaila Sutraganana Vishtari Varnila Iha Dasa Vrindavana. Thus I have summarized the incidents of the Adi Lila. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described them elaborately in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. Yashodanandana Haila Sachiranandana Chaturvida Bhakta Bhava Kare Hashvadana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared as the son of Mother Yashoda, has now appeared as the son of Mother Sachi, relishing 4 kinds of devotional service. Servitude, friendship, and parental affection and conjugal love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the basis of the 4 kinds of devotional activities. In Shanta, the marginal stage of devotional service, there's no activity, but above the Shanta humor are servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love, which represent the gradual growth of devotional service to higher and higher platforms. Swamadurya Radha Prema Rasa Hashvadite Radha Baba Hangi Kariyache Balamate. To taste the mellows of Srimati Radharani's loving affairs and her relationship with Krishna, and to understand the reservoir of pleasure in Krishna, Krishna himself, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accepted the mood of Radharani. Let's see if this is a long purport. I think it's a rather long. No, we could finish up this verse today. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Sri Gaura Sundar is Krishna himself with the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never gave up the attitude of the gopis. He remained everlastingly predominated by Krishna and never accepted the part of the predominator by imitating conjugal love with an ordinary woman, as sahajas generally do. He never placed himself in the position of a debauchee. Lusty materialists, like the members of the Sahajya Sampradaya, hanker after women, even others' wives, but when they try to ascribe the responsibility for their lusty activities to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they become offenders to Swarup Damodar and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. In Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Lila 15:17, it is said, Sabe parastrira prati nahi parihasa Sri Dekhi Dure Prabhu Ayena Ekapasha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never even joked with others' wives. As soon as he saw a woman coming, he would immediately give her ample room to pass without talking. He was extremely strict regarding the association of women. The Sahajas, however, pose as followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although they indulge in lusty affairs with women. In his youth, Lord Chaitanya was very humorous with everyone, but he never joked with any woman nor in his incarnation did he talk about women. The Gauranga Nagari party is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Vrindavan Das Thakur. Even though one may offer all kinds of prayers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one should strictly avoid worshipping him as the Gauranga Nagara. The personal behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the verses written by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur have completely repudiated the lusty desires of the Gauranga Nagaris. So we're going to end here for today. So we're ending at text 276. And tomorrow, most likely, we'll finish the chapter. Okay, so we'll take some questionations. All right. Oh, you gave everyone the sannyas mantra, Pran Govinda. Oh, that's very dangerous. Everyone will take sannyas. I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of nescience by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. This is approved by the previous acharyas, were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's our sannyas meditation. Okay. So, who has questions? Does anybody have questions?
Question about yesterday's class.
Okay.
The Muslims are impersonal in the sense that they don't ascribe form to God's body. Yet they're not impersonal in the sense that they still believe that Allah has feelings and thoughts and so forth.
Yeah, but it's hard to understand how something that is formless and mindless has feelings. It's hard to reconcile both of those concepts, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, Allah can hate you. Generally, his feelings mostly are like envy and anger. That's a problem with most of their concepts of God. I mean, he's compassionate. Yes, they talk about compassion, but he really gets angry if you make a theological mistake. Yeah. The Christians also have that same concept that if someone somehow or other makes a mistake in their coursework, in their studies of theology, they go to hell forever. It'd be like if you go to the university and you flunk out a course, you get kicked out of the university forever.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of stupid. Kicked out of the university, never get a job, nobody marries you. You know, it's just like, huh? I mean, plenty of people flunk courses. So for a theological mistake, you go to hell forever or get tortured forever. And it's interesting, in the Bible, the Bible doesn't talk about like eternal hell, which is interesting. And somehow they come up with this whole idea of eternal hell where God is gloating because you made some mistake. I mean, it's just like, what kind of God is that? That type of God is actually probably the cruelest living entity imaginable that makes Hitler look like a great saint.
Yes.
Right? I mean, Hitler at least doesn't condemn you eternally. He just like tortures you for one lifetime. You know, I mean, he's bad. I'm seriously. But I mean, but that type of God that's postulated by most Christians and by the Muslims is actually worse than that. Not all Christians, not all Muslims, but some. You know, Muslims generally say God is most merciful. And they're also worshiping the person Muhammad. But they don't really want to get too personal because they don't want to depict him in a picture or anything like that. They don't want people to start really worshiping Muhammad. If you say to the Muslim, you're worshiping Muhammad, they'll actually get very upset. I was talking to one group of Muslims once, and I said, you're Mohammedans, and they don't like to be called Mohammedans. They don't. I mean, most strict intelligent Muslims don't, because that means that they're worshippers of a man who is God.
They consider
So
adultery, spiritual adultery, to worship a man, even if he's the
yeah,
prophet.
so that's why they won't depict Muhammad in a movie. Like if you ever see a movie about Muhammad, they don't really show Muhammad. They just show there's one movie with Anthony Quinn. I don't know if anyone you remembers him, but anyway, and it just shows Muhammad's world from Muhammad's perspective, but it never actually shows him. And for the Jews, I mean, God, the most you see for the Jews is God is a burning bush, or you see some lightning making the Ten Commandments. But we actually see the form of God, Radha and Krishna. Okay, good question.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. This is
Yes,
Rishikesh.
Rishikesh. Are you feeling sick, Rishikesh, after you got the shot?
No, Gurudev, now I'm okay. The day after, I was vomiting. I was throwing up all night.
That's
I
because you
had
were
stomach cramp.
previously exposed to COVID. That's the only reason you
But
have
I
a
was
reaction.
negative.
Doesn't matter.
I
There's so many false negatives.
okay.
You know, you only got anyway. The test isn't that accurate. But the
But
point
I
is
did
that
it six times, you know.
because you reacted so strongly to the vaccination means that you actually at least were exposed to it before.
That's strange.
You should take the second vaccine too.
I'm really scared now, but I'll just say,
No,
uh,
no, I guarantee you won't die.
okay.
If you die, I'll apologize to you.
Then you have to come and pick me up.
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
come and pick you up from the nether worlds. So anyway, so
yes.
do you have a question?
Yes, Gurudev. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had two kinds of kirtan. One was internal indoors, other was outdoors. Is there any difference between these two kind of kirtans? Why one was performed indoors and why other one was performed outdoors?
Well, in indoor kirtan, generally for Lord Chaitanya, were the private kirtans that were generally, in addition to chanting Hare Krishna, they were Lila kirtans.
Oh, I see.
You know, they like you if you hear many of the bhajans of Narottam Das Thakur and the songs of other acharyas, they deal with the Lila of Radha and Krishna. So in addition to chanting Hare Krishna, Lord Chaitanya was chanting like about the Lila of Radha and Krishna and doing plays where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one time played the part of the goddess of fortune, and Haridas Thakur played the part of, I think he was a policeman or something like that. And there were a lot of these plays are described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Mangal, but it was a much more intimate thing. But externally on the street, Lord Chaitanya would not chant Leela Kirtans. He would chant Hare Krishna and also Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Keshavaya Namaha.
Yeah, so these were the types of kirtans Lord Chaitanya chanted because he didn't want to mislead the people into sahajism. Imagine if I went out in the street and started chanting, "Oh Radha, oh Krishna, you dance so nicely, and you embrace each other and kiss each other." Woo! I think it would be an absolute disaster. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's why there were only pure devotees allowed in the night kirtans, and the kirtans they had at Srivas Thakur's house, because they were intimate kirtans.
Mhm.
It wasn't just, and also ecstasy was shown. That's another point. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. That Lord Chaitanya would exhibit all the symptoms, the Astasafika Bhavas, the with the Sanchari Bhavas, like that, Anubhavas, the Lord Chaitanya would exhibit them in front of all the devotees. Whereas in the public kirtans, Lord Chaitanya generally did not exhibit these symptoms because people would take it cheaply. But Lord Chaitanya was very concerned with not misleading people in the name of devotional service. So that's why there was a difference in the types of kirtans or the expressions between the two kirtans.
Thank you, Gurudev.
All right. Good question. Actually, that was a very good question. I really appreciated that question. And it was important for the other devotees to hear the answer to that question. So when we are doing public performances, we shouldn't do intimate things about Krishna and the gopis. That's all. So, who else has a question? I can see.
Maharaj, if no one else has, I have questions.
Okay, Mr. Govinda.
I have 3 questions. I don't know if should I all.
Hey, how come you didn't invite me to Alachua for the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada's coming there? I was there when Prabhupada was there.
I thought you were coming, they say.
It's the 29th of July, right?
Yeah, you are coming there, no?
But you never invited me.
Oh, Maharaj, I am just a puny guy, servant of the servant. Okay,
No,
I'll call as soon I get off from here.
Yeah, I mean, people should invite me. I'm one of the few devotees that was there when Prabhupada came 50 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they should be reminded that hey, you know, I was there.
Mother Gayatri was there. Mother Ananga
Manjari was there. Ridananda Maharaj was there. I was there. Amarendra was there. And that's about it as far as the devotees you can get to come.
Okay. I thought I asked Amarendra Prabhu. I mean, he comes Mangalarti sometimes. So
Bhagwat was there. I don't know where Bhagwat is now. He left the movement, but
yes,
Bhagwat was also there at that time. That's about it.
Wasn't Gargamuni was a president sometime?
Gargamuni wasn't there at that time. Now
he was before or after. He was there before. Somewhere.
Gargamuni opened up the Gainesville Center.
Oh, I see.
But Gargamuni was not there when Prabhupada came.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sridhar.
You are most welcome. You are most welcome. You have to come. I'm going to call Amarendra Prabhu as soon as I hang up over here.
Yeah, you should call Amarendra. Ask him, why am I not getting any invitations? Amarendra almost killed me when I joined the movement.
Oh, no.
Because he was after Ridananda Maharaj left, he was the temple president. Amarendra was temple president. And I wrote to Prabhupada 2 weeks after I met Prabhupada asking him for initiation. And Amarendra was so angry that I had done something without his permission. Even though we were both new devotees. You know, it was crazy. He chased me around the temple with a mop. To hit me with a mop.
Krishna, Krishna. He never told me that story. He told me many
No, he won't tell you that story. Because he was really angry. He was like, oh my God. I thought he was going to kill me. He said, you have disobeyed my instruction. You asked Prabhupada for initiation. You rascal. And I was just a new devotee. I mean, what did I know? I was just like chanting Hare Krishna and being happy. But Amarendra he's big. He was really tall. Still is tall, but anyway, he was tall and he almost killed me.
Oh, he's still tall and strong.
Yeah. So, what's the question?
Maharaj, I have 3 questions. Well, you want me to ask question from yesterday or from today?
As long as you do it in the next 4 minutes before I end.
Oh, Krishna, no. Well, okay. Maybe today related to that. Maharaj, I see you are, while you are reading and explaining, you're so nice, but I was trying to put it in my heart the way I can understand. as a fundamental identity, you are servant of Prabhupada, who is servant of Lord Chaitanya. So that's your fundamental identity. But you have a functional identity. You are a sannyasi, GBC, guru.
Yeah.
So the functional identity should be under fundamental identity.
Yeah, it's subservient.
So when a sannyasi, I'm not trying to attack anybody or something, deviate for some reason, how come they are expelled from their fundamental identity?
They're not expelled from
wait. Expelled, but they don't act. They just kind of disappears.
Well, that's their choice. But many of them did act like Harishari.
That's true.
Yeah, so it's their choice. Everyone always has a choice.
I don't know if you know, I'm sitting here with 10 fallen sannyasi around, actually within 5 miles.
Wow. So what are you going to do about it?
No, I'm just because while you are explaining this about Mahaprabhu sannyas and your how it is related, I was thinking, Agrani Swami is here, Achyutananda Prabhu is here, Rupanuga Prabhu is here. I mean, there is 10. I can't count it. Kopil Mani Prabhu.
So you better get out of there as soon as you can. You better run away. Oh my God. Join me. Come. You'll have a dream like Prabhupada had with his spiritual master. Come. Escape.
Maharaj, I met you lotus feet.
I know Prahlad Maharaj won't let you. He's controlling your life. He's the supreme sannyas controller. But once you take sannyas, you're free to do any damn thing you want.
Maharaj, I'll never give up your under guidance. I want to serve under your guidance. I love
We'll put that in writing. We'll put that in writing.
Okay.
We'll make a contract. Anyway, yeah. People should always serve Krishna. Prabhupada said in the eighth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about the story of Gajendra Bhokshana, that even if one gives it up, one should continue serving Krishna with renewed enthusiasm. That's the point. And preaching. There's no barrier. One can preach in any order of life. Because in America, it doesn't make a difference whether someone's sannyasi or not. It really doesn't make a difference. In fact, America, people respect you more if you're not a sannyasi. If you tell people in America you're celibate, they'll think there's something wrong with you. They'll say, "Have you seen a doctor?" America doesn't mean anything to Americans whether one's a sannyasi or not. And you could be, preaching is the main thing. I mean, there's many householders who are preaching so nicely. Look at Kalakanta, for example.
That's true.
Kalakanta is doing more preaching to Americans than any sannyasi is in America. I mean, I'll say that truthfully. He's made more devotees in America than any sannyasi has in America, including me. Isn't that true?
Yes.
He's made more. Kalakanta Prabhu has made more American devotees than any sannyasi has in the Krishna conscious movement in the modern day. How about that? So there's no barrier. I mean, what does saffron mean anyway? Saffron is just pink.
It's a functional dress.
Yeah, it's just a color dress for people. I'll tell you a funny story. One time I was in an airplane. I had a saffron bead bag. It looks a little pink. And the steward, the male stewardess, the male steward, who happened to be homosexual, asked me for a date.
Oh my God!
Because he thought it was a purse. He thought I was walking around with a purse, and he said, what are you doing tonight? And I said, I'm busy. So that's proof that that Western people don't know what a sannyasi means.
Krishna.
All right, time to end. It's always good to end with a little humor. So we'll see everybody tomorrow.